8 straight days with no land in sight became normal for us faster than we expected. By the middle of the cruise, we weren't even checking to see what day it was.
Yeah, we were just having coffee on the balcony every single morning, walking the track, watching the ocean before dinner every single night, and the clocks adjusted 1 hour at a time as we got closer and closer to Florida.
At some point in the middle of the Atlantic, we realized something that surprised us. We weren't ready for this to end.
3 months earlier, we had flown to Europe with everything we owned in 2 carry-ons and 2 backpacks. And at the end of those 3 months, we needed to get back to the United States.
We could have easily flown from Lyon in just 1 day, but instead, we booked a 13-night cruise from Barcelona to Fort Lauderdale and took the slow route back. What changed most was how we felt when we got there.
Anyone who has landed in the US after a long transatlantic flight knows exactly what we're feeling. You land exhausted. Your body has not caught up yet. You spend the next several days recovering from the trip that you had just finished. This worked completely differently.
The ship changes the clocks gradually during the crossing, 1 hour at a time. So by the time we reached Florida, we were already adjusted. No jet lag, no airport stress, my fave, and not one brutal travel day.
Instead, we had nearly 2 weeks to decompress before stepping back into American life.
And financially, the cruise ended up costing us way less than flights for the two of us. But that part needs a little explaining.
We have been sailing with Royal Caribbean since 2012. 28 cruises, 238 nights at sea. Over the years, we reached Diamond Plus in Royal Caribbean's cruise loyalty program and Prime in their casino program. That combination is what made this cruise financially possible the way it happened.
We originally booked in December. Standard booking, discounts applied, and that came to $4,150 for the two of us. We paid a deposit, and that held the cabin that we had chosen. Then a casino offer came in, and we moved everything to the new booking. And under the casino program, you're able to keep that same cabin.
We had each earned an instant reward certificate from casino play on our previous sailing. Combined with the same booking, those 2 certificates covered $2,574 of the entire fare. Casino slot credit covered the rest of the fare and the cabin upgrade. What remained was the taxes, the port fees, and the gratuities.
We also carry the Royal Caribbean credit card. Everyday spending and purchases on board earn points that convert into onboard credit, and that helps reduce what we spend once we are on the ship. The total out of pocket for 2 people, 13 nights, came to $1,770.76. The breakdown for that is pretty simple. We paid $320.76 for the taxes and the port fees, and the gratuities for both of us came to $481, which we prepaid when we booked the cruise. And we also stepped onto the ship with $350 already in our favor. We had received a $150 free play credit for using the instant reward certificate, and another $200 in onboard credits for booking that cruise while we were on a different cruise. So any future bookings, sometimes you get deals like that.
When people hear casino cruise, often they sometimes assume the experience that follows was reduced in some way. On this crossing, the opposite was true. Diamond Plus added 10 complimentary drink vouchers between us every single day. We got 2 BOGO specialty dinners covered on our first 2 nights in a specialty restaurant, 2 complimentary laundry bags covered in the full crossing, 4 Wi-Fi days reduced how much we needed to spend to stay online for the entire trip.
The certificates, they covered an ocean view cabin for 1 guest for me, and an interior cabin for 1 guest for Scott.
For me.
At the time we booked, Royal Caribbean happened to be pricing some of their neighborhood balcony cabins, which are the ones that are located in Central Park, and the others are in the boardwalk area. And they were using the same pricing for those and the ocean view. So we got lucky there. And that let us move into a shared Central Park balcony for a relatively small upgrade cost, which was the type of cabin we were looking for.
Yeah.
On the Allure, that puts you right in the middle of the ship overlooking Central Park. It's really nice. There's like real trees, real grass, restaurants and bars at the street level, live music in the evenings, and there's this energy, this ambiance right outside your door. It's really nice. And the upgrade from the base interior that we were given for Central Park was only $155, and that was covered entirely by the casino slots credit.
We have never stayed in an interior cabin in the 13 years of cruising. And we were not about to start on this 13-day Atlantic crossing.
The decision was not a difficult one. On a 7-night Caribbean sailing, an interior cabin is a reasonable trade-off. You're off the ship most of the day, and the cabin is just where you sleep. On a 13-night crossing with 8 consecutive sea days, the cabin becomes the place where you have morning coffee, where you sit in the afternoon, where you decompress at the end of the night. Neither of us wanted to spend 8 straight sea days in a windowless cabin and find out halfway across the Atlantic that it was a bad idea.
8 days at sea means 8 days of open ocean in every direction from any deck you choose that you want to walk onto. Having a private outdoor space that looks into something different, the green, the atmosphere, the activity below. The cabin gave us that quality that the ocean-facing balcony would not have offered the same way.
Then we had 2 different ways to enjoy being on a cruise.
Right, because we could walk upstairs to the open deck for an ocean view anytime we wanted. Our routine was basically established by day 2, and it didn't change much after that.
Yeah, no alarm. We woke up when we woke up. So coffee first.
Yeah, and if the weather was good, it would be on the balcony.
And we would check our Royal Caribbean app to see what was happening that day. Then we'd go for a walk on the jogging and walking track. Not jogging, just walking.
Yep.
After that, we usually went, to grab the smoothies. We'd go grab some smoothies from... Well, they used to be in Royal Caribbean, they used to have these smoothies at the Vitality Spa.
Right.
We were happy to hear that they still existed, but they moved it to Sorrento's Pizza, which
was really weird to have
very odd
a health drink available at the pizza joint.
But the smoothies were still really good. And from there, the day kind of unfolds for us based on whatever sounded interesting in the app. So we did a lot of different things. And between the 2 of us, we had the 10 complimentary drink vouchers every day. Which
we kind of ate 2 of them right off the bat with our specialty coffee and our fruit smoothie drinks.
And the rest we used for dinner or whatever throughout the day. The Windjammer buffet handles most of our meals. We prefer to go to the buffet.
Yeah, but for those first 2 nights, we had a buy one, get one free offer that allowed us to go to specialty dining. And we benefited for 2 evenings without even paying full price for either of those.
Yeah, and the food across 13 days could reasonably become repetitive.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, they rotate the menu. You have your Italian night and your Indian food night, and you just, it's very accommodating. So the variety holds up. We never got tired of it.
No.
We did have a few port days.
And those were very active days where we got off the boat.
Yeah, we stopped in Palma de Mallorca, Alicante, Cartagena,
and Malaga. That was our first stretch on the boat.
Yeah, we simply got off the ship and explored. After Malaga, it was 8 straight days at sea to Fort Lauderdale. That was new for us.
That's it. You're now on the boat.
But honestly, by then, we already knew exactly what our days were going to be like. We were going to walk that deck track.
Yep.
And we would go to some of those afternoon trivias.
Yeah, or we just hang out on a deck and read, or we'd watch a movie by the pool.
Or sit on the balcony.
Yep.
Glass of wine.
Most of the time with a glass of wine would be awesome.
People watched Central Park. Evenings were a little more free-flowing, right?
Yeah, and they were relatively consistent with, we had dinner as our starting point, and then we would go play in the casino for a while.
And then maybe try a bar that we hadn't been to yet, or maybe vice versa, go to the bar first.
Right, and then always get some kind of new drink that we had never had.
There was always live music playing somewhere, so we'd probably go check out, hang out for a little bit and hear some music. My favorite are the comedy shows.
We set ourselves up with these comedy shows to make sure that we sign ourselves up early because they sell out really quick.
They really do. So you have to reserve seats in advance.
Because those are our favorite shows.
Yeah,
honestly.
can't miss them. We were able to manage our Wi-Fi using our Diamond Plus status. We each get 2 free days, and we also had port days. We had about 4 port days, which left us with 8 days to get coverage. And with our 4 days of free coverage, we had 4 days left.
Yeah. Wi-Fi on the cruise ship is very expensive. So we were trying to cut back as many days as possible and only use the days that we really needed it.
It did work out. It's called Boom Surf and Stream. But we were a little worried. So we got GigSky and we got a 5 gigabyte 30-day package. It didn't last us the entire cruise at all. And it wasn't very trustworthy. It didn't stay on when you needed it.
Yeah, when you're out in the middle of the Atlantic and trying to sync up your phone to a satellite, it was really rough some days.
The ship's Wi-Fi, however, is extremely dependable. I don't think we've ever in all our years had trouble with them. So we ended up paying for Wi-Fi. It was $143.26. And we're definitely going to forego GigSky in the future. Laundry was covered entirely by the status benefit.
We had 2 complimentary laundry bags for our full cruise. When you're traveling with everything your own, 2 carry-ons and 2 backpacks, clean clothes for 13 nights without paying ship laundry prices is no small thing.
The weather ended up being much calmer than we expected. The concern about being far from land for 8 consecutive days, well, that faded pretty quick as well too. The open ocean at that scale, it just becomes normal faster than you expect.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised that even out in the middle of the Atlantic that we were having such calm weather and waters. It was awesome.
It really was.
By the time we docked, I don't think either of us was ready for this cruise to end. We were definitely not saying, oh my God, I wish we were on land by now. I'm sure eventually that would have happened, but
it hadn't happened yet.
No. None of this started because we decided to build one kind of casino cruise strategy. Our first sailing was on June 2012.
It was a 7-night Western Mediterranean cruise that left from Barcelona.
Yeah, and we were a family of 6 back then, and it was our first trip to Europe ever.
And we had no idea that a casino loyalty program even existed. We were just on our first European ever vacation cruise.
Right. The casino was just something that we enjoyed on board the same way that we enjoy either shows or the restaurants.
I actually spent my formative years, a few of them, in Las Vegas, and I had some family connections there for a while. So Vegas had already been part of our lives for years. When we were living in Santa Monica in California, we would drive out for weekends in Las Vegas pretty regularly.
Yeah, I love those drives.
Yeah, so when we found ourselves on a ship with a casino, I was really excited.
We very much both were.
We went in, we played, and we enjoyed ourselves. On this cruise, we spent a couple of hours in the casino most evenings, after dinner, after a show. Over 13 nights, we lost $870. But by the time we disembarked the ship, we had 2 new instant reward certificates between the 2 of us.
Yeah.
And we're using those for 2 back-to-back. So they're 7-night cruises, but 2 of those out of Venice to go see Greece and Croatia. And we haven't been to Croatia yet, so we're pretty excited about that. And the total for those cruises without the instant reward certificate is about $10,000.
It's significant.
And we even got off the ship with Prime status for another year. So we're going to still be getting offers from Royal Caribbean to take cruises
next year.
So that didn't happen on Cruise 1 or even Cruise 5. It accumulated over a decade of showing up year after year. We had been traveling with Royal Caribbean for all of our winter breaks with our kids and summer vacations.
So by the time that we booked this cruise, that offer was already part of our huge equation. Would we do it again instead of flying? Absolutely. Every single time without hesitation.
You get off the ship and you're already on the right schedule. And the cost lined up for us as well, because at that time, flights for both of us were
horrendous.
Nowhere near where we would have wanted to spend. And with the cruise fare, You're getting meals every day.
Yep, you're getting your accommodations for every single day for 13 days.
You just arrive to the United States ready to go. You don't need that extra 3 to 4 days to catch up with the world.
The 13 nights also fit into the way that we travel now. After 3 months living abroad, spending nearly 2 weeks cruising back to the United States, it felt a lot more normal to us than trying to compress everything into one long flight back home. It gave us time to adjust gradually instead of all at once.
A trip like this only works if you have the time for it, though. 13 nights is a long stretch. If your available vacation time is only, 2 or 3 weeks a year total, and if 8 straight sea days sounds difficult instead of relaxing, this probably is not your kind of trip.
Yeah, I would say for us, the timing just lined up perfectly.
We're slow travelers now.
Right. We had the time to take the cruise and to take advantage of the casino offers that made it financially possible. 13 nights later, we arrived in Florida, completely rested, adjusted, and far more relaxed than we ever had on any transatlantic flight.
Absolutely.
Have you ever used a cruise for transportation instead of flying? Is this something that you would even consider? We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.